Hello, this book is titled Godlike Powers and Abilities, subtitled And How You Can Learn These Abilities for Yourself. Authored by Martin K. Ettington, narrated by Martin K. Ettington. Hello, this is the introductory chapter. Hello, this is Marty Ettington. I'd like to welcome you to my book, Godlike Powers and Abilities, and How You Can Learn These Abilities for Yourself. I'll be doing the narration of this book, and I'll also mention a few extra things like what some of the pictures look like, etc., to give you a better flavor for what we'll be looking at. In this book, we will examine some of the most incredible stories and claims from history on powers and abilities, which, if true, would give us the potential to be as gods. In our modern civilization, we think we know it all and that science reigns supreme. Even though I'm an engineer and have worked in industry, computers, and software most of my life, I recognize the limited boundaries of science. Most of what we'll cover here is not currently measurable by science and is based purely on subjective experiences. I've decided to throw away all restraints on what is possible and forget trying to prove my case that these powers exist, as I've done in my earlier books. This book is written based on my faith and intuition, plus the case histories I've read, my experiences, and pure speculation. I will provide references in case histories where available. We are going to cross the bounds of what most people would say is possible and feasible into the never land of what would commonly be called impossible, and I'm looking forward to the trip. I must also say that I spend time mainly focused on my spiritual path, and I know that paranormal powers and abilities can be a great distraction from that path. Why in the world, then, would I write this book? Do I want to destroy the theme from my previous books that we should focus on and strive for spiritual development from learning inner peace? Not at all. I figure that most people who are interested in spiritual development are also interested in these related subjects and will find the information somewhere at a certain point in their journey. These distracting subjects include all the paranormal and supernatural. At some point, most people are going to try to learn about other related subjects, so they might as well learn from somebody who has had their share of paranormal experiences and who has a spiritual focus. I consider myself someone who knows what to avoid and why, and I'm happy to share my advice and experiences with others. In addition, I just find all these things fascinating because they show what a malleable universe we live in, and that with a deep understanding of the spirit underlying reality, we can do many things considered impossible by Western civilization. I've found bits and pieces of what I want to cover here in many places, but I never found all of it together at a level where the writer really has a good understanding of what they were talking about. It should also be mentioned that all of the powers and abilities I refer to here were first written down in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali over 2,000 years ago. These are not new ideas or ones that I've created. I hope you enjoy this journey. Marty Ettington, Fall 2009. Chapter 1, The Scale of Believability. When I was in my second year as an undergraduate engineering student, I had an opportunity to run a psychic research course during the 1975 January term at RPI, or Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, under the auspices of the chairman of the physics department. The professor scheduled the course, and I worked with him to develop the material and taught a lot of it. At that point, I also read a lot of books on metaphysics and was a year into my own psychic development through meditation. I was the daily instructor to a class of about 25 other students where we did experiments on everything from pyramids to trying to hear messages from the dead on recording tapes. In looking for a way to explain psychic phenomena to the students, I came up with a scale of believability which I've become an ever stronger adherent to as I've gotten older. And here we see figure 1, a scale of believability on the left side, probably true, and an arrow, and then very likely, improbable, and a leap of faith going to the right, and then finally on the far right, impossible/ridiculous. The concept is simple. Imagine a scale with one end called probably true and the other end called impossible/ridiculous. Then start listing unusual types of phenomena along the scale as to where they fall. An example scale might include the following key with these sample entries: probably true, very likely, improbable,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?